All right, it is Friday afternoon, and it would be a bit crass to say that can only mean one thing, but it certainly means one of many things, and that is that it's time for making moves. Time for us, our team, as usual, have sent us three companies that have made moves this week in the world. And by making moves, we mean they've attempted to reposition in their market in some way. We have a very short period of time to pick one to discuss. We do so in under 15 minutes, always unscripted, always unedited, and therefore can sometimes go off in some wild tangents, and certainly needs some sort of cognitive lubricant. So what are you sipping on this week?
I'm staying with the subscription.
The Hopper.
Not with the Hopper again.
Well, I am going for the OG energy drink. Water.
There's no label on that.
Aqua Mineral gas, or bubble water, as my kids call it. Arguably one of the great repositioning stories of our time. But maybe we won't go down that rabbit hole. But yes, okay, with our 15 minutes in mind, this week we are going to discuss Harley Davidson making moves. And there's a few bits to this, but it ultimately comes down to Harley under the leadership of a new CEO, basically making a shift away from this kind of premium, kind of scarcity-based positioning they've had for quite some time now to a more mass volume, accessible positioning. Everything from an announcement from under new CEO Artie Stars for his new direction for the business, right through to focus on volume, a focus on dealer profitability, so the distribution, focus on after-sales parts and accessories, but it's also coincided with an extension of their product range with lower-priced bikes, Sportster, Sprint. So there are quite a few bits to this repositioning story. What I find quite interesting about it is that the main press release, the main news, at least at the moment, is here's our strategy. So there hasn't been much at this stage to say, and it's connected to these things, which of course is coming, and they've talked about the product and product range and things like that. But it is interesting how they've literally said, here's our strategic plan. I think that's probably partly to do with the stakeholder angle. They want to be signaling to their dealers as a major stakeholder and consumer and customer that this is happening, which kind of changes the nature of the announcement. But I thought that in itself was quite curious. But one of the reasons that Kieran and I quickly chose this among the three that were sent to us is partly because of your background working on the Harley brand. So you have a little bit of an inside track, a little bit of inside knowledge on, a bit of the story that got them to where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, it was many years ago, and it was working Harley Davidson Australia, but the problems are sort of similar. You hear a lot from a lot of customers, I love Harley Davidson, got the t-shirt, got the cap, think they're cool, I don't own one. So, probably more than any, I'd love to hear the stats on this. They probably are, for some people, they're more a merchandise or fashion brand than they are the actual vehicle themselves, given how much merch is and how ingrained they are in the pop culture of all things. But the other terminology you hear a lot is the weekend warrior, right? This is this is not my commute bike. I get a hog and I ride it on the weekend. And that was a big growth area, and it has been a big growth area for them, away from, let's call you hardcore loyalist, an actual bikie, where I will cut you if you buy a different bike. So, that is obviously, much more of a niche thing, but incredibly loyal, versus your your weekend warriors who sort of in a bike club or something like that.
That's an
Quite
interesting
different.
angle on this, right? Is there's layers to this repositioning in that, to your point, it's not necessarily a brand repositioning. Their brand was a volume brand. It has love at scale, but it has love at scale that far outstrips the ability of that scale to purchase the product. This is more arguably a repositioning of the product range to utilize that scale of brand salience that they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the headlines are catchy. To sort of say we're no longer this, we're this. I mean, that's sort of signaling some things. It's like you say, they're sort of, and it is not an unusual thing. I mean, companies literally sharing their company strategy with their stakeholders being who their fans are and everyone, and probably, it's a bit of a town hall of like, this is what we're doing. Sometimes that's done through an apologetic campaign. This is less that and more, to sell you a bike you can actually afford. But a Harley Davidson, when you think of the heavy hog, is a terrible commuter vehicle. The number one reason people buy motorbikes is for the convenience, to be able to zip around. That is not what you get with that. And with the electrification of everything, just the idea of an electric Harley is going to grate people. It's so their greatest strength is definitely one of their weaknesses. But look, I think this is just a introduction potentially of some new products in their range and a focus on those. I don't think they're going to get rid of their heartland, but they will make in that space. I also think there's a fascinating difference between being a scarcity brand, diamonds, gold, and things like this, and luxury. And Harley's is not luxury. It's not a luxury brand. So it's almost like ironically luxury how expensive the vehicles are. But so it's not like they're going, here's all our cheap. I mean, of course, it is about offering a lower price point vehicle, but they will have to attach that to the occasion for riding those vehicles. Not here's the thing you want, but only cheaper. That's not inspiring, and they won't do that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how they navigate that at a kind of product promotion level, I guess. But can you think of another company that has a bigger gap that, as you described earlier, of I want to be associated with this brand, I want to attach my social identity to this brand, and I actually own the product?
Well, I mean, definitely a lot of luxury vehicles are in that space. Not so much things like Bentley, but Porsche.
But just on that, that's what came to mind as well. But is it cool to have the Porsche pen, have the Porsche key fob, have the Porsche cap if you don't have a Porsche? I don't think that's as cool as wearing a Harley cap when you don't have a Harley.
I think this is where Harley has this strange. I always say their name wrong. Is it Deus Ex Machina or Deus Ex Machina?
Deus,
brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely one of the most beautiful brands that breaks every rule. But Harley Davidson was kind of the first of that. It was cool to wear the shirt, cool to wear the clothing, and you didn't need to buy the bicycle, right? And so, those experiences in that brand is coffee. It is sitting and having food. The bike is there, but it comes later, and that's they've sort of come off the sort of cafe racer style, bikes, which is quite a different style, sort of customization. And I think that's where Harley's going here. It's for the tinkerer, it's for the creator, the makers, those that want something different. When everything else is cookie cutter, here's Harley Davidson with something that has got this nostalgia, but I think they're going to offer up some customization.
Well, here's the big question then. Do you feel that this move, that I guess their hypothesis is that it brings product consumption closer to, call it brand salience, right?
Yeah.
Or do you think it erodes the value of the brand?
No, I think that's I think that's its simplistic view to just say, oh, because it's expensive, it is ultimately, it's fine if it's cheaper. It's not fine if it's now half price, but a lower price point product that or service, depending on the business, that people can understand why it's lower price point did not reduce its premiumness. So you see this through Rolex and other luxury brands where they will offer lower tier prices that you can buy in at. And there's still this storytelling about why that is a lower price. It might be a partnership or a special edition or something like that.
Well,
so
that's
no, I
that's the
don't think
interesting thing, right? Is Rolex lower price point ranges are often time bound, partnership bound, limited. So the price is perhaps lower, but the scarcity element remains, right? They still control stock, product, whatever. So maybe that is one consideration here. Will Harley do that? Will they protect scarcity through other means? But it doesn't sound like it, because the strategic angle that they've stated is that it's a volume play. And it sounds to me like they're protecting their dealers as a major stakeholder here. I assume dealers are hurting, and they're trying to protect that business, that component of their business model.
They're going to have to realize they're talking a different thing. I mean, my background with Harley Davidson is writing headlines, like positioning those things. And some of the greatest lines was, you've been a great father, it's time to be a mother. Not one of my lines. Love that. That was all that idea of that, mother effer, like attitude of like, yeah, great. That's that weekend warrior, it was about freedom, bat on the open road and everything. So they're going to go these lower price points, but I haven't read enough to know, who were they attracting and why, and they're going to have to figure out a different way to talk to those people and why they're offering something up. But what caught my eye was that idea of, customization, and like within cycling culture, there's a sort of tinkering, and I want the latest little gizmo and all that kind of stuff. I think that will be where it gets kind of cool. So I find them targeting the creative creatives around the world that attach their identity to personal expression through a vehicle. But I'm really interested to see what vehicle that is, because it's a big, heavy chrome thing. That is also interesting how it fits into someone's life. Is it their daily commuter? Could they see that as their daily commuter? That's where I think that's the big gap that Harley doesn't fill. But how they take it to market, could hurt them. So I don't like it's Harley, but now you can afford it, if that's literally what they take to market.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's like you said, you could almost keep a price point the same, but increase the utility of the vehicle. So a price point for a luxury vehicle that sits alongside, life adjacent weekend thing is very different from a price point for something that is your daily commuter, that has actual life utility.
It's a really tricky with, like, when you hear Harley Davidson owners talk about why they buy their bike, they talk about real intangibles. They'll talk about the sound. Well, how much are you prepared to pay for it to have that sound, right? Like, these are not rational decisions. And so, that to me is where it's not like you can say, this one's got more megapixels, that's why it's more expensive. There's going to have to be a storytelling element of why are you able all of a sudden to produce a bike that's actually got the Harley Davidson badge and it is far more affordable. And it isn't, it's metal plastic.
Well, there we go. We're nearing the end of our time, so we'll watch this space, but it's certainly an interesting one. It's one of those brands that really occupies a fairly unique space in the world. So it'll be very interesting to see how they go with this. Until next week. Have a great weekend.
Cheers, mate. Bye.